Welcome back to CyHawk Talk here on a Thursday. We're recording before the Week 0 matchup before Kansas State, Iowa State, and Ben is coming to us live from Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Ben, what's the atmosphere like over across the pond?
Well, if you see the room shaking and maybe hear a little bit of a rumble, it's just a train going overhead. That took a little bit of some getting used to from the media center in Aviva Stadium. I was able to poke my head out and see the field real fast. It looks awesome. The stadium, it's going to be a place where everybody feels like they have a pretty good seat. The turf, which is grass, that I've heard is actually the exact same grass type in Jack Trice Stadium. So the grass looks great. I'm thinking they shop at Wallace's for all of their lawn and gardening needs. But Ethan, it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. This place is really freaking cool. Dublin, man, it's everybody's nice. It feels like you're in Harry Potter. There's just a bunch of castles and cathedrals and old buildings around, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun to walk around on sidewalks that feel really skinny.
Yeah, easy there. You're trying to spoil the second segment of our show here today with some of that castle talk, but I got to know you had the video that went out asking the Cyclone players what they thought of when you said Ireland, and I can't remember who, but one of them said uh, cloudy or gloomy, overcast. Has that been the case for the weather in Dublin?
Definitely day one. It was all overcast. It felt, like 60, 65 Fahrenheit. Definitely football weather. Nothing like some overcast gloominess to get you in the mood for some football. But today, Ethan, the sun came out. It was great. I was able to kind of hang out there on St. Peter's Cathedral lawn and kind of chill out and actually file a story. I ran into the Cyclones out there. So it's been nice. The sun's coming back out today. Great, great weather.
Well, we'll see if the grass being the same in Dublin gives any advantage to the Cyclones on Saturday. But that's not really what you're looking at. What are some of the things you're looking at in this Farmageddon Week 0 matchup?
For sure, man. And this was the first thing we asked Matt Campbell today at the press conference is how are you feeling, your body, how are the players feeling from this jet lag? It's a 6-hour time difference from Ames, Iowa to Dublin here. And Ethan, it kicked my butt. Like I'm telling you, this actually does impact how you feel as a person. I don't care how much sleep you thought you got on the plane or you said you got on the plane. It really kind of wears you out the next day. We talked to the Cyclones today. Dom Orange said he did get a lot of sleep on the plane. Tyler Miller, kind of same thing. But, we'll see. I'm sure those guys are feeling it tonight. They have a team dinner tonight in Dublin and an early curfew. I think they're probably looking forward to get some sleep. But I do think it actually impacts the game. And it's not just like something coach speak. I'm happy Matt Campbell actually talked about that challenge because so often, if you ask that question after a game or something like, hey, that's an excuse. We're going to stay away from that. But, at least today, Campbell did talk about the importance of getting sleep. That's kind of his main priority for his guys right now. And I'm curious how it affects a football game. I certainly wasn't ready to go out and go run some pass patterns and go make an extra reach block along the offensive line when I was kind of crashing midday yesterday. So we'll see, man. Maybe it equates to a slow, sluggish first quarter. And then by the time those guys wake up, I really have no idea. And I don't think anybody will tell us, after the game if that's an issue. But couple days the Cyclones have here to acclimate. I think it'll be probably a smaller story rather than a bigger story at the end of the day.
And then you had that logistical story talking kind of about the equipment challenge of moving a football program across the pond. Can you tell us a little bit about that situation and getting all the equipment over there?
Ethan, it was a huge task. The guy who runs that, Skip Brabnick, he told me, man, this is logistically like the biggest challenge we've had here at Iowa State. Because if you don't remember something, it's not getting used. Normally you can go to worst case scenario, run to Academy or Dick's and go pick up a pair of cleats if Rocco Beck doesn't have some cleats. Out here, you can't do that. So getting everything packed the first time is definitely making all of Iowa State's guys easier. I actually ran into Skip. He said, "Hey, doing pretty well. I don't think we forgot anything." Everything's appears to be in order for the Cyclones, but it was a pretty crazy, logistical challenge. You think of you have to load up just a jet full of equipment and pack that, truck it to Chicago, and then ship it over. So certainly something that you know might make a lot of people realize the magnitude of what a college football program is.
That was one of the great stories you had that came out, I believe, last week. And your coverage of this entire game has been fantastic, including quite possibly the first ever injury update from St. Peter's Cathedral. What can you tell us about what you shared with us from the lawn there in Dublin and how it might impact the game on Saturday?
Yeah, Ethan. Iowa State starting left guard Trevor Bohr is out this Saturday with an illness. We found out today from Coach Campbell. Campbell doesn't expect it to be a long-term thing. He, said it just didn't feel right to put Bohr on a plane across here. We just talked about the impact it has on your body, and of course, you don't want to risk other sickness. So, long-term thing with Bohr's going to be okay. And I don't think Iowa State just wanted to risk, him not being right for the next game or him getting other people sick. But big time bummer for Trevor, man. You get the whole summer to look at this Ireland trip and look forward to it, and you get sick. Gosh, I feel terrible for that whole situation. But in terms of the game, Ethan, I think we're going to see, if you had to guess, Jim Boniface, the Iowa State backup center, play at center, and I think Iowa State will move guard Dylan Barrett from left guard or from right guard to center. So I think the Cyclones are going to be okay. Those were the two names, Boniface and Dylan Barrett, that Matt Campbell gave us when asked, hey, who's going to be your starting center? And he said, we wanted Trevor with us here. He's a great player, been playing really well in camp. But the reality of it is we've had, five guys who have started a lot of games along those positions. So I don't think we'll see too big of a drop off in Iowa State's run production. And I do think this game, Ethan, is going to be a matter of who can run the ball better. Partially because maybe it is a little sluggish with what we just talked about, but I do think that both of these teams love to play in the trenches. They're both acclimating to new weapons on offense, and it's easier to hand the ball off than it is to go out and complete a pass. So maybe we'll see this game in the trenches. I think deep down, this is what both of these programs want to do. They want to run the ball. They want to stop the run. And in Dublin, Ireland, a week 0 game where things could get kind of squirrely. I don't know how well everybody has, these complex plays down or even just the language, the terminology down yet. I think we could see maybe this game won in the trenches on the ground.
Not only one in the trenches on the ground, but I mean, it sounds like these two teams are transforming into Big Ten foes almost with your next takeaway. You're talking about running the ball and taking care of the ball. Are your two final things that you're looking at? But you back it up pretty well. So I'll let you go ahead and take it away and tell me and us, the listeners, why turnovers are going to be a big deal in this game on Saturday.
I just think back to the last Farmageddon, in the end of last season when Avery Johnson on the first play of the game, Ethan, from scrimmage, flips a pass, a little pitch out to the right. And he probably, would have had a running back or could have taken the ball himself all the way down the right sideline. But that flip is behind him. And sorry, we just had a little interruption here in the Aviva Stadium press room. The flip goes behind him, and Iowa State recovers the ball in Wildcat territory and gets a huge play. It was backbreaking, that little play from Avery Johnson right there. So that's where my mind goes. Also, looking back at the tape from the last Farmageddon, Rocco Becht had 3 turnover-worthy plays that were graded turnover-worthy that didn't get turned over. So if Rocco Becht does turn the ball 3 times over, I mean, Iowa State doesn't win that game. So I think you're right. Big Ten football, whatever brand of football you play, running the ball well and not turning the ball over are going to win you a lot of games. But in week 0 in Dublin, Ireland, let's just get back to the fundamentals. I like, I'm not a gambling man. I would be taking the unders on all of this stuff. I do think that let's just get back to the fundamentals, get in, get out with a win.
Well, those are what the 3 things that Ben is looking at in this matchup. We're not a predictions show, but we'll get a little bit of what he expects to happen in that game upcoming. But for starters, or to move on, we want to get into your Irish adventures and what you've been able to do since you landed in Dublin yesterday. And again, want to thank the folks down at Wallace's Garden Center for sending you over to Dublin. They're big Cyclone fans over there, and they're your one-stop shop for all your gardening needs. Their garden center offers a wide range of plants, tools, and accessories to help you create the perfect garden oasis. The garden center is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. for walk-in business. They're located at 2605 Devil's Glen Road in Bettendorf. Ben, what has Wallace's Garden Center allowed you to experience over in the motherland?
The cathedral today was awesome. I got to go and check out, one of the oldest buildings I've ever seen, a building older than the state of Iowa. If you think about it like that, that's kind of crazy. Over 800 years, this cathedral has been standing. I walk up, Ethan, and I'm like, man, the courtyard is full. There are just a lot of big humans, enjoying the nice Irish sun. And then I get a little closer and realize, wait, those are all Cyclones. The Cyclone football team is here. They were actually doing their stretching routine from the courtyard in a cathedral, which I thought is a super cool way for Matt Campbell to give his guys a little bit of a cultural experience, a little bit of an Irish feel, while also getting ready, to go walk through a practice, getting ready to do all the football things, the business trip side of this that Matt Campbell is prioritizing so much. So that was really cool. I saw a door in that cathedral, Ethan, that was chopped out. There was a hole in the middle of this door because a long time ago, two warring families were fighting, and the losing family retreated into this cellar, and they didn't open the door because they thought they were, going to get uh, defeated if they opened that door. So they talked through this door. Finally, a truce was arranged. The one side behind the door didn't believe that, the truce would actually be real. So to show how peaceful the truce was, one of the sides chopped through the door, stuck their hand in, and offered a handshake as a token of, hey, this truce is actually going to be real, and we promise we aren't going to bring any axes as we enter this door.
And then maybe a little bit of a positive and negative next up with some of the food you've been able to experience.
Yeah, coffee was not great, Ethan. It was strong. I don't know what, man. Maybe I need some sugar and some tea in there. Um, I had it black and it was not great. It came in one of those little tiny cups too, which like, man, they need a lesson from Starbucks Venti, I think. Just give me a decent sized portion here. What are we doing? But the croissant game and the sandwich game really elevated, I think, here in Dublin, man. I had a Reuben sandwich today from a little kind of deli shop downtown, and that was fantastic. And yeah, the croissants. Everybody's got a croissant around here. I had a chocolate one, and that was pretty solid too.
Well, coffee will just put a little hair on your chest, so maybe you should just toughen up a little bit there, Ben. And another place where maybe you didn't shine the brightest. Let's throw the X post up. Uh, total whiff, total airball on your attempt at splitting the G. Take us through what happened, and let's review the tape a little bit here. Where'd you go wrong?
Yeah, I'll bring you into the film room, Ethan. I mean, it was my first time ever even attempting to split the G, which I've been told that's the way to do it. I was literally like across the street from the Guinness storehouse where they make all this stuff. So they say, the best Guinnesses in the world are right across the street from the storehouse. And I don't know, man. I took a pretty big sip, and I thought I had enough, but nowhere near where I needed to be to split the G. But come on, man, like trying to split the G on the first time is like trying to ask, a random Irish kid to go kick a 50-yard field goal. Like they don't even know what to do. They've never even done it before. So cut them a break.
I don't know. They play a lot of soccer over in Europe, so I think that they might have a shot there.
That's yeah, maybe they could go out and surprise me for
I
sure. I
did
saw
notice you said sip. I don't think that's necessarily. I think that might be where you went wrong. I think you needed to go for maybe a swig or a
swig.
gulp, but sip. I mean, come on. That's
How about
first
a
mistake.
draught? How about a draught? That seems like a good
Yeah,
draught
a
of
pull,
Guinness.
a pull. Who knows? But
A
sip,
chug would have been too much.
yeah,
Chug too.
chug too much,
You're
sip
the
a little
expert,
too
man.
little.
I needed to have you coach me up before I went. That was the mistake.
Yeah, you know me. I'm just a big Guinness guy. Always got a Guinness, right? No. I would also have airballed. So I will say that I definitely would not have done as well as Jake Brand did from Cyclone Fanatic. I saw he nailed it. So
Jake's had a lot of practice this week, I think.
okay, all right. But to finish off the show, I said we get to some predictions, not necessarily getting a final score from you or maybe a win loss. But take us through your Sunday's headlines today. Rapid fire.
Yeah, one of my favorite segments from CyHawk Talk, and we'll bring you these, for Iowa and Iowa State every week. My first Sunday's headline today is going to be doubling down. I think Kansas State either runs itself into a victory or runs itself into a loss. Dylan Edwards, I think the Kansas State tailback is going to get a lot of work, and he's either going to run into a loaded Iowa State linebacker room and ram his head into, I guess you could say, an old wooden door, or he's going to burst through that door and carry the Kansas State Wildcats to victory. So I think doubling down on that run game will be the result here. My second headline is it's time for an Irish goodbye. Iowa State's going to leave early Sunday morning, win or loss. It is super important to get out of there. Don't tell anybody bye. Just get out of Dodge. Go back to Ames because this schedule does not get easy, man. Iowa State spent a lot of time on how do we come back from this trip just as good as we were going for it. That's where you maybe run into some issues with these international games. It's not getting up for it. It's coming back from it. So it's going to be time for an Irish goodbye for the Cyclones. The second we see triple zeros on the field. And my final headline is going to be top of the Big 12 to you. Whoever wins this game is set up in the top of the Big 12. Both of these teams are, on paper, some of the favorites to win this conference. And getting this huge roadblock out of the way is going to be so important. Think of not having to play this game in November at the end of the season like we've gotten accustomed to, when it's just a huge thing of, hey, if we don't win Farmageddon, the ceiling on the season is capped. Well, you can set the ceiling really high if you win this game. And it's going to be a game that we look back on as, man, that changed the complexion of the season for sure.
And of course, you get the not only would you be in the driver's seat in the Big 12, but you'd be the Ireland national champs for that year.
And they'll love you for it. They love them some Iowa State or some Kansas State football. I was at the pub drinking my Guinness, Ethan, and the bartender there was talking to me about Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow. And he's a born and raised Dublin kid. So what can I say? They know ball over here.
Yeah, they might be watching some reruns from the mid 2010s, but they know ball.
I should have asked him for some more modern takes. Maybe I'll have to have him on as a guest. He could talk now.
Yeah, maybe he's a big Nebraska fan. They've just come off their second national championship, right? He's watching the 90s even. That's been CyHawk Talk. Be sure to tune in and follow Ben on X, where he's going to be posting a ton from that game on Saturday. He's at Ben_Hutchens_. So be sure to tune into him. But other than that, be sure to tune back in next week for more CyHawk Talk.